non-essential items were on my mind when I looked up just a couple of days ago and saw no contrails up in the sky. I don't know if you've looked up, but it's been clear for like 2 full days.
Since the government shutdown.
Democracies. Hence, this is Madison's view of the democracies. Hence, it is that such democracies have ever been spectacles of turbulence and contention, have ever been found incompatible with personal liberty or the rights of property, and have in general been as short in their lives as they have been violent in their deaths. The other framers, they had like an equal idea that democracy is not something that they wanted. They created a republic, which we pledged allegiance to. And the word actually comes from a res publica. The word is Latin, it means the public thing, the public affair, which is the law. On the other side, in the Greek side, they gave us demos and kratian. Demos means the people. Kratian means power or to rule, the people to rule. And that eventually came to mean the majority will rule. In England, they had democracy in the parliament, and they tried the consensus thing, that tried to get everybody to agree on a general consensus, like a medical laboratory. Everybody's agreed that we need to give everybody an injection of something, but eventually they went to the 51% majority rule. So how does that work out? Does anybody know what the national debt is? It's like the second, sometimes it competes with the Department of Defense. That's $1 trillion on the interest alone, annual interest on the national debt. Imagine if we had a democracy and by referendum, everybody was sent an email saying, we had a referendum and I know you voted, we came to check you out because we know we've been reading your real ID card and you have money, and we need to take your share out of that, which is $7,524. You said, I didn't vote for it. I'm sorry, but majority ruled. You wouldn't want that. You'd want to live in a republic where you would actually want to see something like a good manager, like in Luke, the Bible talks about the manager that was embezzling funds from his master, and they found out, and he said, oh, I'm going to lose my job. He was a very dishonest person, but he started calling all the debtors and he's making deals with them, saying, how much do you owe the master? 100 barrels of olive oil. I'm going to cut that down. You owe him now 50. And you, how much do you owe them that? Okay. So he started wheeling and dealing so that he could have a nice living, because he knew he was going to get fired and he had to make friends. Well, Congress does that. They try to make friends, don't they? Lobbyists. So when they get kicked out of office, the short-termers, you've got to watch out for term limits because there's no incentive for them to do good. So how much time do I have? You need to raise the flag when I'm getting close to that 5 minutes. But we need honest and open transparency. But in 2018, they passed a law on the federal financial accounting regulations. Believe it or not, you can look it up. It's FSSA, I think, on the initials, 56. And it says we agreed to have secrecy and not let anybody look at our books. You can't look at a receipt, you don't know how much money's where it went to. You need to look at that. That's a federal standards accounting practices now that they have made it so you cannot look and have transparency in what is being spent. Years ago, one of the people in Trump's George W. Bush administration, I don't know if you remember, he's from New Mexico, but he said there's 2.3 trillion missing from the budget. We don't know where it went. But Austin Fitts, the lady from Solaris, says she found like $11 trillion missing, and she had some people from Michigan that found out and said, we're going to help you look for some more, and they ended up with 21 trillion missing. That's as far as they got because you can't go any further because there's no transparency. Embezzlement, corruption is going on today, but we need to have the state stand up and take notice of what's going on. And look at Article 1, Section 10 and find out what bills of credit, emitting bills of credit meant and why states were told to only use gold and silver coin. And that's my 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
We decided to have a constitutional moment every month to help people get into the Constitution more and look at their rights and responsibilities as citizens of this country, of this beautiful republic. And if you are an elected official, please stand. We would like to acknowledge you. Thank you so much. I know that J.J. Humphrey here, he hasn't been here in a long time, so I was surprised to see you here. Thank you for coming.
Proud of them.
Okay, I'm gonna go quickly through some announcements. They are on your agenda if you picked one up at the desk there. We do have special elections in Foyle and Ulaga school districts, so if you are a local, please check that. It will be October 14th, so this Tuesday. And be prepared to vote, I think, for bonds. So the next one is we're putting a leadership class with the Foundation for Conservative Leadership, and that will be October 18th. It will be at this location. The registration is still open. At this point, it's $60. So please, if you're thinking about running for any position, I encourage you to come and take that class. Then we have October 25th, Night at the Mansion with Trey Taylor concert for OKGOP, and there are some flyers at the desk there, at the table there. We have a Patriot Retreat coming up October 31st through November 2nd, and I believe we have a special speaker there. Yes, Jake Merrick will be a special speaker at that Patriot Retreat, and again, there's more information at the table there. And then we are putting a Patriot Dinner December 5th, and we are gonna have J6 speakers. So that will be a treat. We will have more information coming up, and there will be flyers, so please watch for that, and I hope you guys can come. Okay, so that was our quick announcement. And next, we have some special guests tonight, and we decided to have them take a number to see the order of the way they will be speaking. So candidates, please come and take a number from this bowl. John, I'm glad you made it.
Thank you.
Very nice. You have one? Okay, one missing? You're the first one? Okay. Very good. Who's the next? Okay. Okay. And Lisa, you're 5? 3. 3. And then, okay. Kenneth, you'll be 5?
5.
Okay, very good. Okay, so number 1. If you come to, yes, please. And each guest has 5 minutes for introduction. There will be 40 minutes for questions, which will be 8 minutes for each candidate.
It's like 40 minutes. Works for me.
And then we'll have 5 minutes for each candidate to do the closing remarks. So you have the floor. Thank you. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was going to speak first. Hey, Jody, could I have my white notebook, please? That doesn't count.
So we have Mike Mazzei here, running for gubernatorial position. And we are pleased to have you tonight. So please, we'll be ready whenever you're, and we have minutes, I think, that will help you with
Oh, good. Okay.
with the timing.
So Narcisa, that's 5 minutes each, they're all gonna do their 5 and before the question.
Right, right.
Ready, set, start the timer. Thanks so much for having me. You are great conservative Republicans for engaging in this conservative movement, and we appreciate all your energy and efforts. I am Mike Mazzei, and you should know kind of right out of the gate that I have been told a time or two on the campaign trail that I'm not exactly the most charismatic of speakers, like the guy running for Attorney General. Truth be told, I am a financial nerd, which does make me highly intelligent. And seriously though, we are super excited about running for governor of Oklahoma because I believe that Oklahoma has unlimited potential for growth and prosperity right here in the middle of the heartland where we treasure Christian biblical values and we believe in the pursuit of excellence and greatness. And Republicans have made some important incremental progress on items these many years since we've had the majority, but there are some big problems that are holding us back from our potential. One, we have a competitive disadvantage for high-paying jobs versus the no-income tax states, in addition to property taxes going up and up and up, and seniors feeling scared that they're going to lose their homes. Two, we have an education system in which only 20% of the kids can read proficiently. And three, we've got Chinese communists and Russians buying land all over the state of Oklahoma. Those are 3 policy priorities I'm going to talk about, and during our 8 minutes of Q&A, please bring up any topics you would like. Now, we Mazzeys have never shied away from taking on big challenges. My wife and I always wanted to have a big family, but we had some health challenges. We, as a result, adopted a daughter from Russia. She's now 30 years old. We did some fertility that worked out better than expected and had triplets. We had a bonus brother a couple years later, so we had 5 kids in 5 years, which was pretty exciting until college expenses came around. But I did survive that, and I got a little money left. Fortunately, because the Lord blessed us with the opportunity to start our own business in 1996. And today, Trinity Strategic Wealth is one of the larger independent wealth management firms in the country with $1.6 billion in client assets. Now, I don't say that to brag, but I do want to let you know that I know money and finance. And the skill set we think is most important in the governor's office is money and finance. Because you, the hardworking taxpayers of Oklahoma, I can tell you because I was the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee for 10 years, you have lost billions of dollars due to waste, fraud, abuse, corporate welfare, green energy nonsense. I am the guy that in 2015 killed the $1.5 billion giveaway to the wind power companies that left us with a few jobs. I do know how to build a turbocharged Oklahoma Department of Government Efficiency to save you hundreds of millions of dollars so Oklahoma can become a no income tax state. I will propose to the legislature a program for a 3-step process to become a no income tax state, with year number 1 lowering your income tax rate from 4.5% to 3% in one big step, so people know we're serious about becoming a no income tax state. And along the way, we have to address some property tax reform, because it is not right for seniors to feel like tenants in their own home. And I'm already working with legislator friends like Senator Julie McIntosh in a working group they have started to abolish property taxes for seniors 65 and older. And I think it's time for some questions, and I'll save my other
Questions will be
two.
after everybody else speaks.
The questions will be after.
I'm done?
Yes.
John's next. Okay. John Roberts.
Well, thank you so much for having me. My name's John Eccles. I'm one of about 10 Oklahomans that's not running for governor. I am running to be your next Oklahoma Attorney General. It is a real honor to get to speak to you tonight. Thank you for all that you do for the state. I see so many familiar faces around this room. As many of you know, I've been going around the state for 4 months, talking to Republican parties, talking to OK2A events. So forgive me if some of these you've already heard, but I start all of my talks the exact same way. If you want to know anything about me, the very best thing about me, other than my salvation, is my wife sitting right over there, my childhood sweetheart. We started dating when I was 15 and she was 14. We have 3 incredible children, and that's what makes me passionate to serve the state of Oklahoma. To tell you a little bit about myself, our background, I'm a 5th generation Oklahoman. As a matter of fact, my family still owns the farm we got in the land run out in O'Keene. I say O'Keene because most people don't know where Ames is, but I bet you my okay, that we, in the 1893 Cherokee Outlet, grew up going there. I didn't come from a politically connected or a socially connected family. As a matter of fact, I'm 1st generation from poverty. Our background, we met, I went to law school. We had our first child in law school. I don't recommend that, but we did. Got out of it, graduated first in my law school class, and went to work for a big firm downtown Oklahoma City called Crow & Dunlevy. Took me about 4 weeks to realize that is not how I wanted to spend the rest of my life. So we built at night, while I'm working at the firm during the day, a medical staffing company called Sooner Medical Staffing. I know what it's like to take your own risk, to put your own money on the line, and to do it without a safety net, because it had to work out. During those days, we didn't fight about money, because we didn't have any money to fight about. When we built that company to a certain size, I had 2 kids by now, and they all like to eat. We built that company. I left Crow, went to Eccles & Associates, and then I built a series of 6 other healthcare companies. My largest company is 1,000 employees, 15 states. I say that to say I know what it's like to be a small business owner. I know what it's like to have to do that, in addition to having the legal credentials, tried thousands of lawsuits, have been in the courtroom. But that's not what I think qualifies me to be Oklahoma Attorney General. I decided 13 years ago, not because I was politically connected, but because I was a frustrated father and dad and husband and believer, to run for the Oklahoma legislature. And I got to serve in the Oklahoma legislature for 12 years, 8 years as majority floor leader, and I got a PhD in how state government takes advantage of its citizens. And the office of the Attorney General needs someone that understands what they do in the state of Oklahoma to take advantage and waste your taxpayer dollars, and I lived that. And I'm running on 3 basic principles. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. We are going to create a safer, freer, stronger Oklahoma. And all 3 of those things mean something. I'm an unashamedly pro-law enforcement candidate, been endorsed by the FOP, and my push card says 35. Now it's over 50 sheriffs here in the state of Oklahoma. Why? Because I'm going to be an attorney general that is going to attack fentanyl with a vengeance, exactly the way President Trump is doing. I'm going to root out communist China, which is in our state. These governor candidates are going to talk about it, and I'm going to work with one of them to root that out at its very core as someone who did that in the legislature. When I talk about a freer Oklahoma, that's talking about protecting your religious liberties, your Second Amendment rights. As a 12-time award winner from OK2A, as already endorsed by CPAC, and by the way, as somebody who I'll talk about later in questions and answers, has defended President Trump in the Castro case as a pro bono lawyer to keep him on your Oklahoma ballot. And when I talk about a stronger Oklahoma, I will be someone that will viciously protect your taxpayer dollars. The Attorney General is not the Chief DA for the state of Oklahoma. He is the lawyer for the taxpayers and the citizens of the state of Oklahoma. And that's what I will bring to this position. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much for all you do. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you, Rogers County GOP, for this event, and thank you for being interested in the politics of Oklahoma. I think you know it's how important it is to pick out the right candidate, and I think we're lucky to have such great Republican candidates here. I am Lisa Mitchell Haynes. I'm a biblical, constitutional, Republican, governor for the people candidate. In third grade, God told me I would be a governor. In 2023, he sent an angel to me and she said, now is the time, write your plan and get started. Now is the time. So I'm being obedient. Here's what I will plan on doing for you. I've been a city manager and I know how the cities work. So I'm going to work with cities and counties to help them fix the streets and bridges that have been left neglected. And you know what I'm talking about because you're driving on them. While that's being done, I'm going to redo the tax scale. Make sure that it's fairer for business owners and individuals. Then we're going to cover the overpasses. You might have noticed on the way over here that overpass was covered with fencing. That's what we're going to try to do. You might have remember 25 years ago in Tulsa, 2 women were driving down an interstate and somebody threw a bucket of acid through their front window and burned them. Well, in the last year that I've been campaigning, I've met 4 other families that the same thing has happened to them. So I'm going to try to end that evil. In the last year, a state school superintendent's wife was driving down a country road. Somebody threw a car battery through her front window and it hit her in the head. Could have easily killed her. So I think those overpasses being covered are pretty important to the safety of Oklahomans. Let's talk about education. I was interested to know how much money is coming into the school systems. So the Oklahoma Minerals group for the Oklahoma State, they lease out their minerals and that equates to $200 million a year for education. Divided that by the number of schools, that's $3.9 million per school that they get that from the minerals. The lottery pact said that 35 cents of every dollar was to go for education, but you can't ask any superintendent how much they're getting from the lottery. They won't be able to tell you. Somebody lowered that from 35 cents to 25 cents. Last year, they took in $378 million and 19.8 million went to education. We have 509 school districts here in Oklahoma. So you divide that up, add just those 2, the minerals and the lottery, that's $4.3 million. I think that the schools can afford to give their teachers a good raise. The National Teachers Association says we're $11,000 lower than the average. And that may be while our certified teachers are leaving. But if the schools could take that 4.3 million and give their teachers a raise, we might have a competitive rate scale to get some more educated teachers coming back into the state. My plan is to take 45 teachers that have 15 years experience. We're going to go, 15 will live in 3 different states for 1 year. And they can be retired if they want. It might be an adventure for them to live someplace else for a year. We're going to go to Mississippi because they were 50th for decades. Now they're number 1. What did they do? You know, we want to find out. Those teachers are experts. They will be able to know what's the difference between them and us. We're going to go to Louisiana because they were 49th and now they're 16th and they did that in 1 year. So we're going to find out what they did. They should be really excited about that. And then we're going to go to one other state. I just don't know where else that is. But at the end of that year, we'll open it up to the public. We'll be on the social media, Facebook, X and on the media, and we'll find out what they found out. It should be very interesting because they're gonna know. And maybe we can adopt some of those and start raising the level of the Oklahoma education system. Also, you've all seen the apple trees and peach trees that are leaning over. Well, those farmers have come to me and they've said, we're interested in supplying fresh vegetables for the schools. The farmers have come to me and said, we want fresh vegetables to go into schools too. So I've got a coordinated group that's gonna coordinate that, and we will do a farm to school. We create fresh vegetables. Thank you for this time, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Good evening. I was in a church, I said good evening. Gotta wake up a little bit. It is good to be here, and got my lovely bride filming, Nicole, and the miracle that we saw come into this world 11 years ago. She just had her 11th birthday on Monday. Miss Adeline Grace, back there, wait. It's a neat time to celebrate her. It's a big part of our story, and it's a big part of the reason why we have even attempted to explore politics at all, is because of our experience with her older sister, whom we adopted out of DHS. It was through that experience that we saw the brokenness of the DHS system. More importantly, we saw the brokenness of families across the state of Oklahoma. And I believe that if you want to look at the health of a state, you should look at it at the cellular level. And I believe the cell of the state is the nuclear family. And I believe the nuclear family is very broken. And because of that, we are leading the nation in incarceration for women. It's unbelievable. Talking about fatherless homes, but we have motherless homes. And we have rampant drug addiction with meth and fentanyl and heroin, these kinds of drugs that law enforcement cannot go after because the penalty has been so lowered that they said, we'll just bring them into the station and they'll walk right back out. I know because I tried to get my sister arrested to save her off the street and they wouldn't do it. Thankfully, God redeemed her and called her out of darkness, and now she's living for Him. But, we need to strengthen those penalties against these horrendous drugs that are doing so much damage to our families. But that's just the beginning. There's so many things that are tearing our nuclear families apart. We need to have parents that are present, and we need to have their authority protected. I don't know if you've seen the news or seen recently my activity in the recent case with the mom at OU Children's, but I got right in the middle of it because I believe it was something essential to our God-given inherent rights that are being threatened right here in Oklahoma. When you have a mother who opted to choose a different form of therapy for her son with leukemia, very serious, he has leukemia. But after trying chemotherapy, she said, I'm done. He's done, we're gonna try something else. So they gradually phased him off under doctor supervision. They sought out other treatments. They found someone that they liked, did extensive gene therapy research, and came down on a program that they thought would work. And it was. He was gaining weight. He was actually mowing the lawn just the other day when they got a door knock from DHS saying, we had a referral, we need to inspect your child. So I said, okay, let's get him. He was mowing the lawn. They brought him to the door. It looked fine. Said, we want to follow up here at the hospital. Well, it turned out that was a setup. They brought him to the hospital and then stripped her of her custody. Mandated that he check into OU Children's Hospital again. And then against her will, performed a blood transfusion and then resumed chemotherapy. I see some mouths dropping. You should. It's that shocking, it's that heinous, and it's happening right here in Oklahoma. So when I heard this at my daughter's 11-year-old birthday party, my wife and daughter went home. I went to the hospital and I said, I'm not going to stand for this. This one had nothing to do with the campaign. This was about our essential rights that if we do not take a stand for, it will find all of us. It will find all of us. I think about Dietrich Bonhoeffer during the reign of Hitler, who said, they came for the socialists, and I said nothing because I was not a socialist. And they came for the trade unions, and I said nothing because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And so we have to take a stand for everyone, and anytime our fundamental, inherent, God-given rights are violated. It's being done right now in Oklahoma. Still today, the state has custody of that child, and as of yesterday, he had another round of chemotherapy. And so it's horrendous, and all I'm saying is I'm willing to take a stand for these kinds of things when individuals' liberty is being violated by the state. I believe in limited government. I believe it needs to stay in its lane. We need to maximize liberty for everyone else. Trust people, trust parents over the health and the education of their children. And we better all stand for that, or we'll find us all one day. I look forward to your questions in just a minute.
My name is Kenneth Sturgill. After listening to everybody here, you can see how wonky everything's gotten in the last few years. Oklahoma is a great state, and these are great people up here that's willing to sacrifice and take time out of their lives to get in there and try and fix these problems. My name is Kenneth Sturgill, like I said. I would love to serve you as your next governor. I'm running for governor because, like she said, I feel led by God. I feel like God called me last August, and then I prayed and fasted over it for a while, and I took the step. I could share that story maybe later in the question and get there. Like. My focus as governor will be similar to what these guys are, because there's so many things out there that we got to work on. But there's two things that I want to put at the top, though, is the next generation. You know, my dad always told me, leave it better than you found it. I don't think Oklahoma's gotten better lately. Let's leave Oklahoma better than we found it. And by doing that, we're going to have to really work hard to get some things done. I'm not a career politician. I've spent the last 25 years of my life running a small business in the Norman area. I will, you vote me in as governor, I'm going to do everything I can and work as hard as I can, and then I'm going fishing. I'm not doing no more of this. My focus, like I said, would be also for the retired community. I think I was talking about somebody over here, but anyhow, the retired community, lowering the tax burden for the retired community. A lot of people going into retirement, and when they go to evaluating their house property tax and things like that, I mean, they just almost have to take another job to keep the house, or they're going to have to downsize. That's not right. I am 100% against abortion. I will protect our amendment rights. I think that's what got us through the last presidential term. I think I'm against mandatory vaccinations. I'm for smaller government, lower taxes, and I support the truth in public schools. And the truth is, there's only two genders. That's a sad thing when they started changing that, okay? I think there's some work to be done there. I'll leave it at that. I also support Donald J. Trump. I imagine everyone here does. We have seen that guy in the first term. He came out and he fought and fought. It seemed like he was fighting, just me watching from the sideline, it seemed like he was fighting on his own. But as you can see now, the energy amongst the people running, there's people ready to fight with you. And I think we're going to do a great job for this country as a whole, changing things over. If it's okay, I'm going to end with a prayer, okay? God, I thank you for Oklahoma and the USA. Thank you very much for every person that is here and is willing to serve Oklahoma. I pray that you will bless them and their families, God. And God, we repent of our sins, and Lord, we ask you to heal our land and send revival to Oklahoma. and the USA. Amen. God bless Oklahoma.
Okay, now we're gonna have a few minutes of questions, and we have people that have written their questions on index cards, and they have been submitted to one of our members there. Chris Cole, if you would like to come and read those questions, please. And there's a mic here.
I don't really know exactly how to do this without just doing a random drawing. So we are only going to have a limited amount of time for everybody to answer questions. So I've got about a dozen questions that have been submitted to me, or not to me, but to Rogers County GOP. I'm going to randomly pull one of these out, and as each speaker comes up here, I will ask them that question, and they will have how many minutes?
8 minutes.
8 minutes
So-
to pontificate, answer, dodge, weave.
Not each question. No, not each question. All together, 8 minutes, but not each question. Each question will be about
30 seconds.
a minute.
Okay, you guys better answer fast. Okay, number one. Who is number one? Is it you?
What do you think about just passing the microphone?
That's fine, that's fine. First question, what is your position on ending state income tax and property tax?
Yes. I will throw in there with my other 50 seconds that when I was in the Senate as Senate Finance Chairman, not only did, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Thank you. Good man. Not only did we save, billions by getting rid of the wind power tax credit, but I also led the effort in the Senate to save the almost bankrupt state pension systems, and in the process of making all those state pension systems whole, we saved taxpayers $6 billion. I led several tax cut pieces of legislation. We ran on the Senate floor the launching of the back to school sales tax holiday. We also killed the Oklahoma estate death tax. All in all, over our 12-year career, we saved the taxpayers $10 billion. So we do have a 3-step process to make Oklahoma a no-income tax state, and year one of a Mazie administration will launch that first step, going from 4.5% to 3%.
Thank you very much. Next answerer, your thoughts about windmills and other green energy businesses.
Well, to quote my friend, no, but to go a little deeper than that too, I'm going to use the same, that was good. So Senator Mazie did start in 2015. I will tell you in 2017, I ran, you were out of the Senate at the time, but in 2017, I ran the bill that finished off the rest of the tax credits against wind energy, saving the state of Oklahoma billions and billions of dollars. It is so exciting now that we start to see what that has happened. And I will tell you, that's what happens when you have federal government artificially prop up an industry and get in the free market where it never ever belongs. Oklahoma needs to be more focused on natural gas and on clean energy that we make right here, which is our oil and natural gas.
Will you work to abolish the Oklahoma Judicial Nominating Commission? And will you work to align school board elections with the general election?
Absolutely, yes on both of those. Yeah. That's all I have to say. Yes.
Next question. Do Well, Jake, do you possess any abilities or qualities that specially qualify you for this office? Perhaps any qualities that differentiate you from other candidates?
From the mouth of babes, here we go. Thank you, baby. I tend to be a little, maybe I pass it on, a little outspoken, deeply convicted, and you can see on the top of my website and literature it says principle over politics. And that's how I operate in life. That's how we run our family. And that's what I did in the Senate, is I voted based on what was righteous, what was not politically expedient, not what would guarantee me a re-election, not what would cater to special interests, but what was right. And it makes things very simple. Now, the only catch to that is you have to die. It's kind of like following Jesus. You know, you have to die before you follow him. And the key to living strong in politics is dying to your political career up front, because that will always be dangled over your head and used as leverage against you. That if you want to stay in office, most likely the ones saying that they're the ones who bought your seat anyway. But if you want to stay there, then we need this agenda met. And I don't operate that way. I proved that in the Senate, that I was willing to vote on what was right, even at the expense of my re-election. So, was that my time?
Yes.
Okay, she said yes. Okay, so, yes.
Yes.
What will you do with state income taxes? If you want to phase them out, will you replace them, or what will you replace them with?
We just heard quite a bit of numbers over here about the amount of income that comes in from the casinos and things like that. I'm thinking, where is all this money being going? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I haven't been in politics, but we got to find those things out. Because, you know, they always said that the casinos would finance schools, but that's never happened. We got to look into a lot of things, and you know what? I think I ran out of time. It takes guys like these guys running for office. It also takes you guys being due diligent about voting and being due diligent about getting out there and maybe even being a part of your school board and things like that, because a lot of those decisions are made back in that area. Thank you.
We have time for another question. Each? Another question each? Okay, let's do round two here. What is your motivation for running for this office? What is propelling you to do this?
I believe when true reform-minded conservatives unite in common cause, we can make Oklahoma a no income tax state. We can fix the schools so kids can read. And we can kick out these Chinese communists from the state of Oklahoma, who now own land in all 77 counties. Well, when we do that, as conservative Republicans, we can usher in together a golden age of growth and prosperity right here in the middle of the heartland that will be a beacon of light and hope to people all across America. Those are the priorities I want to solve, so that is the reality for your kids, my kids, and our grandkids.
This one is very specific. What sets you apart from Drummond and McCall?
Well, the first thing that sets me apart is I'm not running for governor. You want, I'll answer that one if you want to, but should I get another one?
Oh, yeah. I'll give you-
Yeah,
I was going to say integrity.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Okay. How do you think we can lower our incarceration rate? Oklahoma stands near the top as an incarcerator of the world?
Well, so I'm going to take a little bit of issue with the premise of the question. I don't know that the goal should be to lower the incarceration rate. I think the goal should be to make a safer Oklahoma. Do we need to continue to have services for those that are in mental health? I mean, a good start there is fix the crisis that is the mental health department right now. And I was very proud of the legislature for firing a director who stood before the legislature and had a CFO that said they're not a numbers person. And if you didn't hear that, ask me more. I will tell you what I think we need to do, and what I will do as Attorney General is enforce our laws. That's the promise that I make. I'm going to enforce those laws even-handedly, whether you grew up in the wrong side of the tracks like my mom and dad, or whether you live in the nicest area in Southern Hills in Tulsa. So my goal will not be to decrease the incarceration rate. My goal will be to make sure our laws are enforced and we have the safest streets we can possibly have.
I'm not real sure what this one means, or it was just scribbled on here. Medical tyranny, ?
Oh, you.
Exactly what we're dealing with.
I don't understand that.
Well, I would ask John Eccles, because this has been a problem, as we just found out, and as an Attorney General, you will have some power to even prosecute at the state level.
Well, I will announce right now, part of the reason, I know many of you, because I know many of the faces, follow my Facebook page. I will tell you part of the reason I haven't made a statement yet on the Moody case is because I'm working with Daniel, her lawyer, right now on the legal side of that case to help make a difference of what's really going on in that issue. DHS, I will as soon as that's over and I'm not subject to the statutory gag order, but I use my law degree to help, especially those conservatives, and have many times. What's happening inside DHS is an absolute travesty. It is a travesty and it's real. And I will say both of these gentlemen spoke up on it. I appreciate that. But as an Attorney General, one of the things I will make sure, and I'll say something I haven't rolled out yet too, I think we need to create something similar to the Brady list that we have for law enforcement for DHS caseworkers that are caught lying inside the court.
Amen.
And those are some things that we're going to do. And I will make a statement, but I stand with the Moody's and I think what happened is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Maybe everybody, in fairness, can speak to this issue, but the 17-year-old that is suffering right now and trying to overcome cancer, kudos first to my competitor and my friend, Jake Merrick, for trying to bring this to the attention of everybody all over the state. It's shocking that OU Children's Hospital can take custody of a 17-year-old boy against his mother's wishes and force him into chemotherapy. In 2014, I voted for something called the Oklahoma Parental Rights Act. And it clearly states, to Jake's point and to attorney's work, that a parent has the right and the authority to determine the medical health and treatment of her son. So as a non-attorney, I don't quite understand why this is even a case. I do know, like these gentlemen, I wanted to find a way to help, and I knew the initial request was, we need legal representation for our day in court. Their quick goal was $5,000, and I just donated $5,000, so everything was going so fast. Mrs. Mooney could get some good legal representation.
Now, none of the money went to me.
The lead lawyer's name is Daniel, and so she does have good legal representation now. And as this unfolds, I know all of us are committed to praying for Mrs. Mooney, praying for her 17-year-old, and helping financially where we can.
would you be in favor of prohibiting the use of biosolid waste on our farmland?
In fairness, they needed a chance to talk about,
The same issue.
Okay, you want to talk
Same
about the
issue.
same thing?
yeah, I think
They
that
want
was,
to.
if they would like to
If
say
you'd like
something.
to talk
they should.
about
Big deal.
medical, period.
Medical tyranny.
No,
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I don't know enough about it.
No problem.
Well, I am against mandatory vaccinations. I think during the COVID deal, we've seen a lot of overreach by the government, forcing kids and to do things that can't happen again.
Yeah, I do have something to say. I am against any child being taken away from their parents. California does that. I don't want to turn Oklahoma into that in our voting or in the way we treat our children. I want the children to be saved because our children are not for sale.
I'll speak quickly to this. I do want to say thank you, Mr. Eccles, for your help in that. That is tremendous. And also thank you for that donation to accelerate that cause. I'd want to say that, like I said before, thinking about the implications of this, and something that you need to have on your radar are health, school-based healthcare clinics. When we are trying to attach health clinics to schools, where schools should have the primary focus of academics, but now we're looking at wraparound services to be everything to the students. I just think about where that could go. So if they determine that a child may need some kind of medical procedure, or they need a certain vaccination, and then they just unilaterally pull that kid, take him to the health clinic connected to the school, and against the parents' wishes, perform whatever they want. You say, well, that couldn't happen. Well, it's happening right now in Oklahoma. And so the last thing I want is for a school to have wraparound services where this could be accelerated and we can see this widespread across the state. I want to put that on your radar. That's connected to medical tyranny as a potential threat.
You know, when my daughter was 14, I took her to the doctor and they told her that she could get on birth control without my permission. And I said, no, you're not getting on birth control at 14.
Now, I'll go back to this question that was submitted. Would you be in favor of prohibiting the use of biosolid waste on our farmland, also known as human manure?
Oh, yes.
Representative Jim Shaw has taken the lead on this issue, and it's kind of nefarious that municipalities want to be able to sell this stuff to make some money, and we're polluting our wonderful farmland across the state of Oklahoma. So it's an ugly practice that needs to be prohibited. And if I have time left, I'd love to go back to that question on the difference between me and McCall and Drummond.
It's crazy that I got
I think that's fair.
it. Feels
I've got the mic. One thing these gentlemen know, that from my finance world, even if I deliver great outcomes for my clients, I always have to use this phrase, past performance is no guarantee of future results. But in politics, we can tell you that past behavior is 100% indicative of future results. And we can go back to Getner Drummond and his wife donating to Joe Biden. We can go back to Getner Drummond donating to the radical left, Brad Carson, who ran against our fiscal conservative hero, Tom Coburn. And the 95% increase that he requested from the legislature to grow his agency. I mean, what fiscal Republican conservative can look themselves in the mirror after asking for a 95% spending increase? I'll get to McCall in my final 5 minutes.
Yeah.
What is your position on foreign ownership of U.S. land for industry?
Yeah, it's against the Constitution, it's against 2 different state statutes, and it needs to be enforced. I mean, a hard stop, the end. Like that's the bottom line. And as Attorney General, I've answered this question. I actually was on my way talking about this question. I had an event in Tulsa, which is why I wasn't here right at 6. But we have a full plan as to exactly how we're going to do it. To that end, that's why I'm proud to be endorsed by over 50 sheriffs in the state of Oklahoma. They know where the foreign land is, just like you all do. And it's the Attorney General's job, and I will do it, to root out the LLCs that they are hiding behind. We will root them out and we will shut them down. Campaign promise I make. Every time you hear the word fentanyl, hear foreign-owned land, because you cannot bust enough street fentanyl until you take out the producers, the mass producers, and it is coming from these foreign-owned lands, and we will stop it.
What do you think about tax credits for films being made here in Oklahoma, corporate welfare, tax incentives, and subsidies by the state? Pick one.
I met the producers of the new Twister movie, and they said that they can't afford to make movies in California anymore, and that Oklahoma has the best incentives for movie producing. New Mexico is second. So I'd say keep those incentives up and have the next superstars come out of Oklahoma. As for the corporate welfare and tax incentives, I think that's part of the globalist agenda, and I'm against that.
We just talked about that one. Are you in favor of, and how would you implement ending the perpetual toll roads and expose the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority?
Do I just get 1 minute? I voted against the movie tax credit, by the way. I just don't believe in corporate welfare, and I think you have to be consistent. And so, that aside, I would like to see the OTA, first of all, renamed, because I don't like Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. Maybe service, but nonetheless, I would like for it to come back under more legislative oversight. Step 1. It is a rogue agency raising tolls at will and running right through, I think, abusing eminent domain, deciding where it's going to lay down the next turnpike and through which 100-year-old farm it's going to just run through. And so it's being abused, it's victimizing Oklahomans, and it needs more legislative oversight. And I want to entertain the discussion of ending it all together. Is it time we pay off the toll roads and be done with those altogether?
Does this need to be our final? Are we getting close here?
We're good.
Okay. But we're about to run out of questions. That's the reason we're asking.
They can all answer the same
What
question.
is your
then.
philosophy about gubernatorial appointments, like for agencies, boards, commissions, state superintendent?
When you elect a governor, he's going to be able to pick a lot of those, so elect the right one. Going back to the turnpike thing, I went to Cameron University in Lawton, and I drove the turnpike going down there every week. I lived down there and I'd come back. And I remember, it was in the 80s, early 80s, and it was in the news. They were fixing to pay that turnpike off and it was going to be free. What happened? It never got free. And there was a promise that was supposed to happen. Yeah, that needs to happen. Because you go to the other states, they're not charging you to drive everywhere.
Roads are nice.
Yeah, yeah. Ours are
Still going.
pit.
Okay.
What ideas do you have for educational reform?
Very important when you work out the 20% only can read proficiently. It means 550,000 students are going through the system right now, and they won't be prepared for a great life and a great job. The solution to better reading outcomes in the state of Oklahoma, shockingly, lies in the state of Mississippi, because what they did is hired a statewide literacy director, required phonics in every school district, put $15 million per year into reading specialists with the proper assessments of the students, and established what's called the third grade reading gate, which means you can't move Johnny and Susie on to fourth grade unless they're proficient in reading, and say, good luck, we hope you figure it out. Now, when I was in the state Senate, we actually voted for the third grade reading gate and passed it, but eventually it got watered down because weak-kneed Republicans got too scared by the educational elites. Well, we've gone from 49th to 50th in the country in reading outcomes, and Mississippi, with those 4 seminal reforms, have gone from 50th to 1st in the country, according to the National Assessment of Educational Project data. So in my first week as governor, I will hire a statewide literacy director. We will go back and put in place the reforms that we had passed, and we will execute and implement the additional reforms so thousands and thousands of students can be better prepared for life and a great job.
How will you approach tribal negotiations?
So that's a huge one for Attorney General. If I were to have it in a sentence, it would be more compacts, less lawsuits. At the end of the day, what we're doing right now is letting the federal government determine U.S. tribal relations, and that is just not a formula for long-term success. What we have to do, we can't live in a situation that we live in now where you have unequal justice. But anyone that's seen me on TV, as I was for 8 years, nobody answered more questions in a camera than me on Your Vote Counts, knows anyone that also tells you they're going to get McGirt overruled is pandering to you, and I'm not going to do that. We have to come up with an agreement where we have one system of justice, where we work with our tribal partners that are still here, and we have to get out of this never-ending cycle of litigation where we let 9 Supreme Court justices that have probably never stepped foot in the state of Oklahoma, and probably 8 of them can't find it on a map, decide how we do it. And we are going to fix that problem.
As governor, what is your view of nullification of federal laws that usurp power from the states?
I like it that President Trump is passing some things down to Oklahoma, like the education dollars that are coming down. I kind of like the idea of free lunches for kids. I think that'll help put money in people's pocketbook. I don't know if we can afford it, because I've heard it's going to cost $35 million or $70 million to feed the kids for lunch. But I'm hoping to figure that out. I think that's a worthwhile thing to do with the money that's they're sending to us. I also like the idea of hiring a literacy coordinator for the state and using that third grade reading test with that money.
We are all aware over the last 9 months how corrupt the judges and district attorneys are. How would you propose to rein in these judges and DAs?
I'm going to talk with Mr. Eccles about this after. One area has already been brought up, the JMC, and I would like to see this move to the federal model. I think this would be a good thing for Oklahoma. The other thing I would like to see is more transparency in the courtrooms. The excuse of protecting the innocent, I believe we see agencies hiding behind that. And there are states where the courtrooms have cameras, and they seem to be doing okay. I think more transparency is always a good thing. And so I would like to know, in this recent case, what was decided? What was discussed? We have a right to know. We're currently paying for that chemotherapy as taxpayers, so I think we have a right to know. The other thing I'd like to look at is judges who are appointed judges, who are in a lifetime appointment. And so how do you get them out? You can't. I would like to see them move to a retention ballot. So if they are appointed, there's a certain timeline after which they move to a retention ballot to stay, where they can be examined by the public and be judged by the people of which they judge.
What percentage of Oklahoma bureaucracies would you like? Do you like? Would you like?
Huh?
What percentage of Oklahoma bureaucracies do you like? Zero, a good number?
Zero.
Let me give you another here. What do you think about how Oklahoma government is organized, considering the agencies and commissions?
They've been organizing it for a long time. They should have got it right by now, don't you think? I think they would have got it right in the secular world by now, because they'd ran out of money if they didn't. So, yeah, there's a lot of areas for improvement. Even like talking about the turnpike thing, and the casinos deal as well. In my end, I might tell a story about that.
Never ending questions.
What do you think about starting to put in real fallout shelters for our schools and military bases? That is, do you have any concerns about nuclear war and I don't know what an EMP is, but or an EMP?
Electronic magnetic pulse instrument. I grew up in the Air Force. I'm a military brat. And once upon a time, we were stationed in Seoul, Korea. And I was 16 in high school, and my dad said, "Son, if you get the following note from me in school and it says this, that means you're supposed to hop in the car, go get your mom, go find your brother in his classroom, and head south to get across the bridges because the missiles are on their way." And I've lived with that threat, if you will, my entire life of what could happen to us. Now, financially, there's a lot of things we need to do in the state of Oklahoma, and we don't have a money problem in the state of Oklahoma. We have a money management problem, and I like to be fairly plain spoken. There's a lot of things we need to spend money on before we put bomb shelters and whatever in every facility and try to harden everything. Thank God for Donald Trump, who's making us strong again and secure again. And don't you love the Department of War instead of the Department of Defense?
Yes.
My brother was in the Army, my nephews went to West Point. I'm the schmuck who became a businessman and a politician. But I think we can all feel a little more comfortable, a little safer at night, because Donald Trump is gaining us peace through strength, just like my hero Ronald Reagan did. And I believe he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for what he's getting done in Israel with this war against Gaza that's now, 2 years old. So, God bless America and God bless Donald Trump.
We have seen grand jury petitions obstructed across the state. Would you agree to investigate grand jury obstruction by district attorneys, judges, and politicians?
Yes. So I will agree, and I have watched this closely. I'm not going to prejudge what has or hasn't happened, because I anticipate I'm going to win this race, and I anticipate that's going to be something that I'm going to be looking at. So you make sure you don't prejudge what you'll be looking at. I want to be as clear as I know how to be. If you hear the rest of my speech, which you will at the end, I make 3 promises, and the third one I always end with is, I will follow the law. Always, 100% of the time. Without respecter of person, that is social class or political class. The right to petition is sacrosanct. It is enshrined in our Oklahoma Constitution. That includes the grand jury petition. There absolutely should be no obstruction inside there. It should go exactly the way it's supposed to go. And that's the benefit of having somebody that, quite frankly, doesn't need politics. I absolutely have the ability, will do what's right. And I've made lots of comments on that one. But yes, we will look at all obstruction, and we will look at some of our own grand juries as it relates to DHS and some other agencies.
How long have you been a registered Republican?
Since God told me I was going to be a governor in 3rd grade, I planned on it for the next 20 years, and I've always been a Republican at heart, but back when I registered to vote, Oklahoma was a Democratic state. And my dad said, you won't win the governor if you don't register Democrat. So I did. But during the Clinton years, I was so embarrassed about him, I changed to being a full-time Republican.
Let's let everybody answer.
Okay.
What was the question?
How long have you been a registered Republican?
I've been a registered Republican since the Reagan time. That's when I voted first.
27 years, and that's only because you can't register until you're 18. It would be longer. But I registered as a Republican at 18 years old during the beginning of the Christian Coalition.
How much time do I get? Huh? I get 9 minutes, okay. Little history lesson. When Gettner Drummond was a registered Democrat, working for Democrat U.S. Senator Dan Boren, I was in the United States Senate working for a conservative Republican as a registered Republican on a pro-life task force during the 80s and the Reagan Revolution. When Charles McCall was a registered Democrat and gave thousands of dollars to the opponent of then state senator candidate Josh Brakeen to help the Democrats retain their majority. I was the Republican state senator and chairman of the Senate Republican Campaign Committee who raised money for Josh Brakeen to become a state senator, as well as give him a personal check so Republicans could get the majority in the Oklahoma Senate.
Thank you.
What do we mean by Republican? That is the question, right? I had 26 years since I was registered to vote. I've been Republican, raised by Republicans. My family comes from West Texas, and so we're Democrat as a cuss word, along with marijuana. And so, yeah, we are red through and through, and we believe in living up to the name.
How much more time do we have, Archie?
One more question.
Each?
And that's it.
One more question each.
Let's this question be just one question for everybody.
All right,
That's it.
let me get an easy one then.
No, get a good one.
Well, this is not a question, but this is a comment. I love you, Daddy.
Good job, Addie.
Love you too. He's too young to vote.
Don't remind her, it makes her mad. She wants to vote now.
Maybe let's go back to the question that,
I've got a good one here.
you got one?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
We'll let everybody answer this question, the same question. What are your thoughts on PAC money supporting candidates?
It's a good question. So I do accept PAC money. I have turned PAC money down as a result of that. I've actually returned individual donations back. At the end of the day, for me personally, you can't buy me. I haven't been for sale and I'm not gonna be for sale. That's not something I'm gonna do. And it does take money to get on TV. I've got a lot of respect for people that view it the other way, but that's how I view it.
I didn't need the job when I was in the Oklahoma Senate. I don't need the job as governor. The Lord has blessed us with a wonderful company and a wonderful family. And I've always been independent, if you will, of the special interest crowds, because when I was a senator, I was my biggest donor. And as governor, or during this governor campaign, I am going to be my biggest donor. Now, there are some political action committees that align with my views and my values, and I'm happy to take their money because they're a big part of conservative reforms. When I was in the Senate, I never took any gambling money. When I was in the Senate, I never took any money from tobacco groups or alcohol groups. I'm the only, not the only, I am one of a few of us that will not be taking any tribal money because we need an independent voice in the governor's office. But there are a few groups that stand for pro-life and fiscal conservative policies, like Club for Growth, that helped Josh Brakeen with $2.3 million to help him become your United States Congressman, and he's been a home run rock star fiscal conservative. So there's an example of a political action committee that if they decided to support Mazie for governor, we would welcome their support because we align on the same ideas and the same values.
So I've made the very well-known commitment not to take any PAC money or special interest money. And I don't condemn anyone who has, because I think he's right. I think there are good PACs. And I've taken money from PACs in the past when I ran for Senate. But in this particular race, I would like to join the growing number of candidates who are wanting to leave no question about their loyalties. And just because money is the corrupting factor, and there is this lingering question out there with so many about, what are you bought? To whom are you allegiant to? And you know, I want the people of Oklahoma to know that I'm allegiant to them, that when I'm elected, that I owe my allegiance only to God and the Constitution and the people of Oklahoma. And that's not, again, to vilify any of the other candidates, but I'm just saying it's my personal conviction, and I think it is a precedent that's being set in Oklahoma. We're seeing a growing number of candidates who are making this promise and taking this stand. And I think that is a good thing for politics in general. I'm sick of dark money. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sick of this mysterious group with this unknown address that leads to a vacant field that sends out a mysterious mailer or text last minute to influence elections. And so this dark money influence is breaking, and the stranglehold in Oklahoma is loosening, thank God. But I am just wanting to push back against the influence of money in general on politics in Oklahoma. And I think there's a growing number of those that are wanting to make that same commitment. And again, in the end, you'll know where I stand. You'll know that I'm only obligated to the people of Oklahoma when I sit in that seat.
I've been campaigning for the last year, and I've been listening to people, and they are depending on a public servant that is not beholden to anyone. I'm doing okay financially. Of course, I can always use money, but I'm doing okay. And I don't really want to take any money from PACs. I don't feel right about that, and it goes back to being not beholden to anyone. So you can count on me, and I will be there for you.
I agree 100% with what Jake said. I'm going to take that same road, down that road, and walk this path without impact.
Now we're going to the closing remarks. So, number one, 5 minutes each, yes.
Thanks again for giving us some of your valuable time on a Thursday night. Our second priority is education reform. You already heard me discuss our major reading sufficiency program, but we need other items addressed as well. When you have the wrong curriculum, no accountability and transparency in our school districts across the state, and you have disorder in the classrooms, well, we know the results. And although the legislature has poured more and more and more money into the system, we keep getting worse and worse results. On the item of accountability and transparency, the most important fix we can push and advocate is changing school board elections from the weird dates of February and March to the general election date when you vote for governor or president. Let me ask you this question. How many times in a row did Donald Trump win all 77 counties?
All 3 times.
All 3 times. Yet we have 541 school districts across the state of Oklahoma that are largely run by school board members and superintendents that are liberal, left-leaning, and they've been incubated, if you will, in these higher education institutions that have gone 90% socialist. Well, the only way we're going to get these 500 plus school districts changing is the school board members answering to the vote of the parents when there's a real live turnout and we have partisan specifications of the candidates. You're either a conservative Republican or you're a radical left Democrat. That will begin transformation in our school districts, just like we've seen transformation in the legislature since 2006. Now, our third priority is to deal with this mess of foreign ownership of land. We have learned from law enforcement that the Chinese Communist Party now owns land in all 77 counties. All 77 counties. Most of the land is farmland, but we also have 5 major military installations. So we've obviously got a public safety crisis from marijuana grow farms and fentanyl nonsense, and sex trafficking and human trafficking and all the stuff that goes along with these nefarious sites. But it's also a national security crisis now because from CCP-controlled land, they could launch weapon strikes with drones against our military facilities, just like Israel did to Iran. They could poison the water, they could introduce diseases to humans and livestock, and as John mentioned, Title 22 of the Oklahoma Constitution forbids the foreign ownership of land, yet the current Attorney General of the state of Oklahoma is not enforcing the law. And to make matters worse, my other opponent in this race, Charles McCall, has publicly boasted on TV that he passed in 2023 the toughest, harshest law in America forbidding the foreign ownership of land. Well, you can look it up. Write this down. Senate Bill 212. In the year 2023, the result of that was an affidavit process that has to get filed in all 77 county clerk offices. And that affidavit literally looks like this. And you have to process item number 3. So you have 2 choices. The person obtaining the property is a citizen of the United States. Great, buy whatever you want. But after the words United States is the word or. You can check the next box. And it literally says, not a citizen of the United States, but an alien who is or shall become a bona fide resident of the state of Oklahoma. Anybody can buy anything, and it's absurd, and we're certainly not dealing with the Chinese communists that are here. But on day one, I will pass the necessary executive orders to enforce the law, close this crazy loophole, and evict these Chinese communists from the state of Oklahoma. We're excited about winning this race because we have the resources, the top talent, and we're securing the conservative base all across the state of Oklahoma, thanks to our friends who publicly endorsed us, like Congressman Josh McKean and former Attorney General John O'Connor. Please check out MikeForOK.com and join this conservative movement so we can become a no income tax state, fix the schools, and kick the Chinese communists out of the state of Oklahoma.
Thank you so much for coming tonight. I wasn't going to say this, but one of the first things I'm going to do is take everybody who checked that on that box, and we're going to go investigate them.
Let's go.
When we're done. I just want to close with this. I want to close with the three promises that I make every time I give a campaign speech, and there really are only these three. Number one, I promise you, if you support me, I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm vetted. I've been in public office for 12 years. Many of you know I've been on TV in the Oklahoma City TV market for 8 years. I'm going to be somebody who's going to stand on their principles, going to stand on their faith, or faith in Christ, and going to live up to what I tell you I'm going to do. Second promise I make you is I do not care if you are the richest, the most powerful, or the most politically connected, or the poorest and the least of these in our society. You are all going to be treated equally under the Attorney General's office. And the third is I will follow the law. That is the job of the Attorney General. And it's been said we'll follow the law in a non-political way. Be careful for phraseology like that. That is code word for liberal. There's 5 to 4 Supreme Court decisions all the time. There's Justice Scalia, Justice Thomas, and then there's Justice Jackson. You want to know what my political philosophy is on the law? Look at what I've done as a private lawyer. I've partnered with the ACLJ, the American Center for Law and Justice, the Christian version of the ACLU. I've fought the good fight on behalf of President Trump. I fought the good fight, and I didn't talk about it. By the way, the first public statement I've ever made about the work I've done in that case is in here, because I fought the good fight when it's time to fight it. And I will follow the law. I need your prayers. We desperately need your prayers. We need your support, and we need your vote. Follow us on johneccles.com. Follow us John Eccles for AG on Facebook. Eccles, Team Eccles on X. Something with Eccles on Instagram. My kids know more about that than I do. Actually, I should say have your teenagers follow me on Instagram with mine. And thank you so much. Long before I ever ran for any office, I was a Republican Party activist as a kid who grew up in this state, grew up in South Oklahoma City, and got involved in the part of the Christian Coalition when I was in high school with my wife at Christian Heritage Academy in Del City, Oklahoma. What you do matters. Your time here matters. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for having me also. I'm going to be the governor of infrastructure, and I will help the cities and counties fix the streets and bridges that have been left neglected. While I've been campaigning, I've learned about some water issues. Guyman thinks they're going to be out of water in 3 to 5 years because of the pig farms taking millions of gallons. In my opinion, it's time for the pigs to lose their lease. Pigs don't take priority over people. Now, I understand that they've gotten money from the federal government to drill 15 wells, but they're not drilling the wells yet. I'm going up there next Monday to visit with them to see what's the holdup in that. COETA, you may know about COETA around here. They've been sending out letters since last September telling people not to drink the water. If you're pregnant, nursing, or a senior, don't drink the water. In Frederick, down on the border, they have a pipeline that takes water from the lake into the city. It's dumping the water before it gets to the city because of old infrastructure. Around Elk City, there's a county that's broke. They have water lines that they don't have enough to drink or bathe with. And Durant, they're thinking they're gonna be out of water in 8 to 10 years because the Choctaw Nation is taking so much water for all this new building that they're doing. So we've got water issues all over Oklahoma. Hefner Lake is polluted. The Norman Lake is polluted that funds that city. We've got to get a governor that's aware of these things that will work on it. And you can guarantee I will work on that. I'm also incorruptible. I'm calling down the PACs, the lobbyists, and the special interests. The reason that law not prohibiting foreign ownership of land is so watered down is the special interest got to it. And they put their spin on it. And I don't know why the legislators voted on it then, or why the governor signed it into law. That's ridiculous. I won't sign something in the law that doesn't represent the people of Oklahoma. Thank you for your time tonight.
So my wife was told that she would never be able to have children. She was born with a very complex heart. And they said, if you even try, then you and the baby will die. You live at an oxygen level that is not sufficient for an individual, let alone another life in the womb. And so when she got pregnant, when we decided to trust God over doctors' opinions, the first thing that the pulmonologist said was, when do you want to schedule the abortion because you cannot have this baby? First thing her cardiologist said was, when do you want to schedule the abortion because you cannot have this baby? Same with her OB/GYN. And she was persistent, so I had to push back a little harder. And I said, listen, if you're saying that there's a 100% chance that my wife and the baby will die, we're not having an abortion. God gives life. We're not going to take it. Now we have our beautiful little 11-year-old miracle back there. We fought a hard fight in that battle, and she went into heart failure at 24 weeks. Adeline was born at 2.5 pounds, 2 months premature. And, we trusted God through the whole thing. And in the end, it came down to what was right. And I emphasize this over and over again. It comes down to principle over politics. It's the thing that keeps you on the straight and narrow, because there's so many influences, so much pressure from different voices, different parties, different lobbyist groups, special interest groups. And so you have to be solid in what you know. We know what is right. The Bible says, where the righteous rule, the people rejoice. And so we want righteousness in the land. And it's going to take someone who leads with righteousness, not catering to special interest groups, not being swayed by any party or any financial influence, but just doing what is right. So I made some very tough votes against some pro-life bills, actually. Because like that land ownership bill, there were some pro-life bills that had major loopholes. But there were Republicans who were scared to vote against it because it might mean they weren't reelected. But I said, no, it leaves a loophole for murder to continue, and I'm not going to allow it. We can't regulate it. We need to end it. And so there's certain things we have to, that are hills worthy to die on. That was one for me, is life in the womb. Currently, there are no surgical clinics open in Oklahoma. Praise God. That's awesome. But still, abortions are happening every day with chemical abortions. And that has to end. There's been an effort to end that last session. I think we need to go further and end that in Oklahoma. We need to close the loophole, like he said, with foreign ownership of land. We need to prioritize parental authority. So parents have the supreme authority, and that's protected over their children's education and their medical choices. I know that some people, they question that that's actually being threatened in Oklahoma, and actually it is. We've talked about it at length already. And so we have to have someone who's willing to stand in the gap between tyranny and the people. I'm willing to do that. I was told when I was running in the Senate, we need good men like you in office, but if you get elected, you won't be able to do much. There's 3 men who run Oklahoma: the governor, the pro tem, and the Speaker of the House. And I was like, well, we'll see about that. Well, I got in there and got 0 bills heard. I was shut down because I dared to vote against the pro-life bill. I dared to challenge leadership. I wouldn't toe the party line. And so he said, if Jake Merrick's name's on it, we're not going to hear it. Right now, with the current system in our legislature, we're upside down. And I argue that we do not have a representative republic in the state of Oklahoma with our current structure. That it needs to be the body of the Senate electing the chairman of those committees and the body of the House electing the chairman of those committees, having a bottom-up structure instead of a heavy-handed top-down structure. Because indeed, there are three men who rule and reign in Oklahoma, ultimately. But it needs to be the people. It needs to be the people. We have to return back to that. And until that happens, what do we have here? Now, I may not be able to directly impact that in our legislature as governor, but you can bet I will be talking about it every chance I get. And I'm going to be shining a light on it saying this needs to be fixed. The rules need to be changed. The people need to be represented. So it's going to take someone who's just willing to be a bulldog, just someone who's willing to push back, to take a stand, to have a backbone. I'm willing to be that person. Thank you for your time. Check out JakeAmericaGovernor.com.
I'm the last one. I really appreciate you guys taking time and coming out and listening to us and caring about your state. I want to tell my story real quick, and then I'll just end it with that. How God has led me. Last August, I attend the small groups in our house, my wife and I's house. Anyway, I was having a small group. They were doing prayer requests. A couple of ladies said, "Hey." The only one running was Drummond at the time, but they said, we need a good candidate for governor. And the Holy Spirit spoke in my heart and said, that's you. And I said, I don't think so. And I started praying and fasting about it. That was in August. And I prayed that God would give me something that was supernatural, something that was undeniable that I heard from Him. And I take care of my dad on Saturdays. And I went over to my dad's, and he goes to Brahms every Saturday morning and gets him a biscuit and gravy. But he had just gotten back. And somebody had broke into his house and stole 3 guns out of his house. And he was telling me this story. He was pretty upset. And as soon as he told me that, I got a vision of a pawn shop. So the day they got stole, God showed me where the guns were going to be. They weren't even there yet. December rolled past. In February 6th, about February 6th, the Holy Spirit kept dealing with me to go by this pawn shop. Well, I was working in the area, so I went by the pawn shop. I walked down the counter, and the guns, none of the guns were in the counter. There was 2 counters, one that side, and I was facing the gun counter, and the lady behind me, she said to me, can I help you? And I said, I kind of like old guns, and I had a little bit of time to kill because my call didn't take very long, so I came in here to look to see if you had an old gun, and I'm still not even facing her. And she says, would you like to see an old gun? And the Holy Spirit inside of me immediately said, your dad's gun's fixing to walk out that door. Well, you know what happened. My dad's gun, she went and she said, now listen, this gun's not for sale. It is in our private collection. So she pulled a gun out of their private collection that wasn't for sale and brought it out and showed it to me. And it was his gun. So God had told me before the gun even got to the pawn shop. So I knew then, I said, God, I will do what you asked me to do. So that's why I'm running for governor. That's how he verified it for me. Now, something else that's interesting about it is it was a tribal guy that broke in, because once I found the gun, I mean, they had his phone number. So they pulled his phone records, and the local cop came by that next week at my dad's. He was standing in my dad's front living room, and he said, he was standing right here the day you got broke into. So they had overwhelming evidence, and they did nothing. They did nothing to the guy. And still today, he's still free because of that. That's why I'm running. I'm gonna do the best I can, you know what? And I'm not against these guys at all, or ladies. I'm for Oklahoma. I wanna see Oklahoma better than what it was when we found it. Lord, and you know, I'd like to see a revival come to Oklahoma as well. Thank you guys very much.
Well, we want to thank our candidates for coming. This is our first forum. We will have the rest of the candidates in another time. Some of them were not available to come tonight, so we also like that we had a lot of time so we can question and get to know our candidates. If you want to mingle a little bit and get to know them, ask them more questions if you have any. And as well, we do have a silent auction. If you have not been by the table there, I encourage you to go and do that. There are some items that have been donated, made by a widow, and some beautiful, beautiful items. One of them is a Charlie Kirk limited edition table runner, patriotic table runner, and a few other things. So we will adjourn tonight. Just wanted to thank you again for coming. We had a great time with our candidates, and we'll see you next month. We will have the OCPA person come and talk about state question 836.